Welcome to the Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold. Uh, this past week's been one of those kind of weeks, and like everybody else, sometimes I get my share of miseries. Seems like last Saturday I discovered that I was coming down with a cold, and that sort of put a damper on the day because I knew that, Sunday I was going to feel really bad. And so I was sitting here web surfing Saturday night, and the video goes off of my computer, and I don't think that's very good, but I think, well, we'll get to it later. So I get up Sunday and I feel, kind of like I'd like death warmed over from the, first day of a cold. And so during the day, one of my security cameras goes dead. I imagine you've noticed them in the back, cycling back and forth. And I thought, well, that's great. Whatever else can go wrong. So I spent most of Sunday laying on that couch over there sleeping. And Monday I got up and I figured I was going to live, and so I went down to Fry's and bought a video card. Came back, stuffed it in my PC, and no video. That's when I got the hint that not only was the video card dead, but so was the so was the motherboard. So I guess when the video card burned out, it took a couple of circuits out of the motherboard also. So then I had to sit down and start planning for, another motherboard. And that took me a day to think over. And while I was thinking over, I went outside and I found that the tail had broke off of the wind vane on my personal weather station. So, it's kind of like when it rains, it pours. And that reminded me of the old philosopher. He'd start to listing off a bunch of woes in this real trembly, tearful voice, like, so your wife left yesterday to go to her mother's, and she called and said she's not coming back. Your car's broke down and the motor fell out in the street. Your toes got caught in the lawnmower. And you got hangnails.
Is that what's bothering you, Bunkie? Well, lift your head up high and take a walk in the sun with that dignity and stick to
Hopefully
it.
that worked out right, and I stepped it into the soundtrack in just the right spot. So anyway, I came back with all my toys that I had to hock the dog and all the tires on the truck and that sort of thing. But I got together another motherboard and a CPU, and what else? I guess maybe nothing else. I don't remember. But anyway, I came back and I put the thing together and cranked it up, and sure enough, Windows doesn't like the new motherboard. It says there's been something changed here and I'm not going to go, and it doesn't like it. And so it tries to fix the problem, and I thought maybe it could fix itself, and I ran it through that 5 or 6 times, and it's just not going to accept this new motherboard. It's I guess one of Microsoft's ways of seeing that you don't use Windows on another computer than the one that you started with. So I had Windows 10 on it, and I said, well, I will remove the the system and go back in it with a Windows 7 and then upgrade to Windows 10 all over again. And in the process of doing this, I've got 3 hard drives in my computer. One of them that had drive C, D, and E, and D was the one where I kept all my video stuff, and E was other stuff that I had left over from whatever. And then the other 2 drives are just old time radio shows. Though there's the 2 terabyte drives. Well, the one drive that had C, D, and E, I partitioned it off to think it was 3 drives. I wound up cleaning that whole sucker off. Not a thing left on it at all. And after a little trying, I reinstalled Windows 7 and upgraded to Windows 10 and So then I spent most of the week trying to reload software on there and trying to recover this and that and the other things that I had found useful, and trying to get all my favorites copied back, and the had put I'd saved the an export from all my favorites on my hard drive on the desktop that I wiped clean. I should have put them on a thumb drive, but anyway, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to rebuild my PC, and I know it's a really big change from what I normally do, but that's what I've done this week. Pretty much the only thing I've done. Uh, I've got to do this. The boss lady is one of those people that if she sees something that needs doing, she's going to start on it right now, unless she hasn't totally finished something else. And when she gets totally finished at something else, she's going to start on it. And as a result, you don't find the house with a pile of dirty clothes or garbage sitting around, or the floor's dirty, or sink full of dirty dishes. Uh, and she doesn't understand procrastination. And of course, I'm a master of procrastination, so she's been on to me for about 2 or 3 days to get this put back together. And I keep trying to tell her, it's just a home weather station, and it don't matter if it ever gets put back together. It's not going to, affect the world or anything. It's not going to shut the whole world down. But when you're of one particular persuasion, it's hard to understand somebody of the other particular persuasion. So I guess today I better get out there and get it glued back on. Hopefully that'll work. And this is, of course, a momentous time in Texas. January the 1st, it became legal to openly carry a pistol. And there's some people that are, kind of concerned about this, since it's new to them. And they haven't stopped to think, in the first place, in all but 5 of the other states, it's always been legal to openly carry a pistol. And they don't seem to be suffering a lot, nothing unusual that we're not suffering. They don't have more murders than we've got. They don't have more robberies than we've got. And they don't have more anything in bad things. And on top of that, the guys that are going to be openly carrying are the same guys that had a license to concealed carry a gun. And if they're worried about how much trouble these guys cause, you can go to the state of Texas, the Department of Public Safety in Texas, and you can look at the statistics as to crimes that these guys have been involved in that have, the license to carry. And there's not more than a handful of guys get in trouble in any given year. And they've got about more than 900,000 people licensed to carry a concealed weapon. And they're not the guys doing the crime. They're not the guys you got to worry about, and they're not causing any trouble with it hidden away in their pocket. And if one of them decides to carry it on his belt, he's still not going to cause any more trouble than he did before. And another little thing that comes up that kind of I find annoying is they always talk about how many people, are committing suicide. And the statistics on this are that out of the white guys that die from gunshots, white people, 70% of them are suicides. And they say amongst the minority there, 80% of those people that die from a gunshot are homicides. Now, that's just an interesting statistic that I thought I'd throw in. And they say, yeah, but look at all these people committing suicide. And I say, well, let's go to Japan, where the common man, the peasants there, have never been allowed to have a weapon. Back in the days when the samurais were the soldiers of the country, they were the only guys that had swords. When they got soldiers in a regular army with guns, they're the only guys that have got any guns. And they've got way more suicides than we've got here in the U.S. We've got about 12 per 100,000, and they've got about, I think, 17 or 18 per 100,000. So you don't have to have a gun to commit suicide. It's just people do that because it's easier. But if you go to Britain, where, nobody got a gun, half of the people there hang themselves when they commit suicide. And there's a hard time getting accurate suicide data from Britain, because I had, until my computer crashed, I had a document from the British government that showed that your suicide rate was somewhere around 17 per 100,000. Now, what you can find on Wikipedia is 9 per 100,000, which is, a little bit less than 12 per 100,000. But I think that is figure, and in the document I had, that figure was how many females are suicides, was 9 per 100,000. So you can, depends on who's telling the story as to the facts you get. All right, enough of that serious stuff. Well, Bubba's got this old truck. It's got 250,000 miles on it. He decided he wants to, sell it and get one of the less mileage, like maybe 100,000 or something. And nobody wants to buy it. So he goes down to the garage where his buddy works and talks to his buddy. And his buddy says, "Yeah," he says, I can help you get rid of that truck." He says, but he said, "It's not legal." Bubba said, "Well, I don't care." He said, "I just want to get rid of the truck." He said, "Well," he says, "take it on down the street there about 3 blocks to old Joe and have him run your odometer back." So Bubba says, "All right." So he goes down the street and he has old Joe run his odometer back, and he runs it back to 50,000 miles, And so about a week goes by, and Bubba's coming by the garage there where his buddy works, and stops in and see him. And his buddy says, hey, Bubba," he says, "you still hadn't sold that truck?" Bubba says, "All right, you think me take me for some kind of a fool?" He says, "I ain't selling that truck now. It's only got 50,000 miles on it." "Yeah, oh, okay. Let's go fix my computer." Okay, so the cause of today's problem is this video card, and this video card has 6 capacitors on it there. This one's normal. Maybe I can get it up close enough for, maybe I'll just zoom in on it. And you can see how it's got little slots, kind of like the little pop top on a soda can. Well, on this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, those little slots have been ripped loose by this thing trying to swell up. You can see right here that this thing is swelled open and pretty much pushed its guts out. And out of the 6, there's only one that didn't swell up and bust on me. And so that means that it's time to build another PC. I built this one in April of 2008, and this thing's been running all that time and did a good job up until 2 days ago, when I was sitting there and I heard pop, and all the lights on it went out, and well, all on the monitor went out. And so I went down and I bought another video card down at Fry's, and came back, and that didn't work because the motherboard sort of got taken out along with the video card. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the motherboard and of course the video card. And I guess 8 years is pretty good time for a home-built PC. So we got to go down in here, and we're going to have to get out all these cables that are in the way. And that got a big power supply with a lot of big cables. That's these big ones here. And of course there's all the drives, hard drives are wired in with these SATA cables. So what I'm going to do is let you have a little look down in there at the little tangle. And this darn camera's hard to move when you got it hanging on the tripod, but anyway, I got to go into that little bit of spaghetti there and unhook all those cables, and then we'll pull the motherboard out, and then I'll come back. Okay, so we got the motherboard out, and it's I didn't take the CPU off of it, or the CPU cooling fan, because I'm not going to reuse it right this minute on anything. I'll probably find something at some point to use it on. Looks just like a butterfly, huh? That's what I thought when I bought it, but Didn't buy it because it looked like a butterfly. I bought it because it was supposed to be a really wonderful thing. But actually, Intel CPUs come with a fan in the box, and it's probably just fine. No real need to buy an extra huge fan unless you're going to overclock your CPU, which I did to this one. All right, let me put this up. We'll do something else. So what we need for the job now is a new motherboard, and I got this in a bundle down at Micro Center. Came with a CPU. So you get in the box, you get the motherboard in a static envelope, which is good because right now, with the weather like it is, there's lots of static electricity running around. I've zapped everything in sight for several days, and there it is. There's the new motherboard that's going to take up residence in there. So that's one thing we've got. Of course, there's accessories in the bottom of the box. There'll be a disc with drivers and all manner of things. Let's see what we got here. We got a little grill to go on the back of the computer for all the goodies to stick through. We've got some SATA cables for your drives and an SLI cable. This is in case you want to put two video cards in there and run them like as if they were one. This is what links the two video cards together. I'm not doing that. That's for gamers and such people that do all that sort of thing, and I'm not really into that anymore. I would have been back in 2008, but since then I got too old. My hands cramp up when I try to play these video games, so that's out. Okay, another thing we got for it here is a brand new Intel CPU in this box here. Here's the fan, here's the CPU over here, and we'll assemble all that once we get the motherboard about ready. Or I may put it on it before I put it in, but I think I'll put the motherboard in first and then add all that stuff to it. All right, let's move this out of the way. And I've got memory. So I won't forget. I've got memory, and it's pretty fast. It's going to be dual channel memory, and I will make a couple of adjustments here on setting the motherboard in there, and I'll come right back. Okay, so I pulled the old what I call grill out of the back of the case here, and we've got the new one right here in my hot little hand, and that'd be a good thing to put in there first if I can get it open. I'm sure they don't need to make these childproof. Okay, so that looks like it matches the motherboard that way, so let's see. It's not going to fit like that. It's got to go like that. Yeah, alright. What you got to do is you got to match it up to the back of the motherboard, all the things that are going to stick in it, and then set it in there. There. That's in there pretty good, down into the bottom there. And now all we got to do is take the motherboard and maneuver it down here onto all the little standoffs and such that in the bottom of the case. And of course there'll be some problems, and you couldn't do this without problems. It's completely unauthorized and unnatural if you didn't have troubles of some kind. Alright, let's see if I can get it to line up there. Alright, now that I'm going to be lining it up with the holes, the motherboard has a bunch of holes that you screw it onto the base with, and they're spread out over it. And what I've got to do is look in there and locate the little boogers. Let me see if I can maneuver the camera over here, show you some of them. Let's back this up a little bit. There we go. Back this up a little bit. Yeah, whoops, whoa. Hey, hold on. I'm not keeping it. I'm losing my grip. Anyway, there's one of the holes there that put a screw in. Yeah. Well, that's for the CPU fan. Alright, over here is a hole in the corner. There's a screw hole right here. That's the actual screw hole there. There's a screw hole right there. All I got to do is line them up on the little posts that are sticking up out of the case and put screws in them. So I'm going to stop the camera for right now and put those in, and then we'll come back.
Okay, so the motherboard's screwed down in here, and if this little light doesn't drop any more pieces of plastic, we should be quite alright. So we can pull the little cover up, and we're ready to put the CPU in. And there's a little triangle notch that shows where pin 1 is, and that's where we want to put the CPU. I don't know what I did with it. Here it is. It wasn't lost after all. Okay. Put it out of this end of the box. Alright, there is our CPU. All ripe and ready to go. All I have to do is locate pin 1 and put it into the case facing the right direction. And of course I'm trying to avoid all the static that I possibly can. And that appears to be the right way. There's the little triangle there for the chip. Alright, so that doesn't want to be on there for the rest of the job. We're going to remove it some way here. There we go. Alright, so put down the little hold down arm, and CPU should be on there now. I've got some grease to go on there, heatsink grease, and I don't know exactly where I've got it, so I'm going to have to turn off the camera while I look for it. This CPU came with heatsink grease already on it, and Mr. Genius stuck his fingers in it, but there's still enough there, so we'll put her in like that. I can't imagine doing a wonderful thing like that, but I did it. Okay, anyway, take this little bugger and see which way the fan cable is plenty long enough to go just about anyway. So, that's the way we'll put it, just about anyway. Set the heat sink down on top of there. Can't see where, there we go. And you just push in and rotate them, and they'll hang on pretty tight if you get them in right. I don't have them in right. For some reason I'm not having a lot of luck with this thing. Alright, so I'm going to have to read the instructions. I know. And according to the instructions, even a child can install it. So, I'm going to give it a try. They don't realize I'm just an ordinary redneck here. Well, that seems to be the right way. It came right back out. That's not so great. It's not latching down, so I gotta figure that out. We'll be back.
Okay, that got it. The arrow points around this way, but you have to turn it that way to latch it down. Makes perfect sense to me, I guess. Maybe. Not really. But what the heck. So you got to fasten the CPU fan down. Alright, so I've got the motherboard screwed down. I put the fax modem back in. They stopped developing fax modems years ago, and they're not going to get any faster or fancier, I don't imagine, ever. So there's no use replacing one unless it's burned out or something. And there's no guarantee it's going to work with your cable company anyway. Memory slots here, and we turn the camera around where you can see the memory slots. And they're usually two different colors. And here's memory. I haven't opened it yet. But we'll get it. Yeah. That's it. Okay. So these have a little slot in them here. It's a sort of a tooth. And if you'll find down here, look for where the little tooth is. It's on the other end. Just turn them around and set them in there so that that tooth matches up. And if you got it in right and you push down, it'll close the little latches all by itself. Now all I need to do is start hooking up these power wires. And this motherboard is pretty much like the last one in power requirements. Okay, well I'm just going to ease the SATA cables over into this header along the front here. See if I can move it to where it's easily visible. Anyway, along here is a header for the serial ATA cables, and they're going to handle the hard drives and the two optical drives. Normally, with a motherboard, all your panel connections and sound connections and things that are external to the front of the case or whatever are all going to come along the side here and stuck in there. So I'm putting all the extra wires up inside the empty drive bays because I've got a lot of extra wires. And this is your ATX cable, I think that's what you call it. Hooks onto here. It's in two pieces, so you have a 24-pin cable. And once you've got that hooked up, you check your optical drives. If they're hooked up, you got power to them. Look at all your drives, you got power. And I seem to have power, and I have data cables hooked up everywhere. So it looks like this thing's put together. Now all I've got to do is take the extra cables, which I've got plenty of, and stash them away in here somewhere. Now this motherboard does have built-in video, but I think I'd just soon use this card here, and it gives me an extra HDMI connector. That way I've got, I think, at least two. And we'll set this guy right in here. And it's neat that he lines up just like the other one did. Okay, so I've got I guess all the cables hooked up, and I've got the thing ready to go. I guess we'll push the button and see. Or did I turn on? Oh, yeah, power supply's on. But I don't have the power button on the right switch, so I'll have to find that and be right back. Alright, there was an easy mistake to make. I plugged the power wire in to the little header on the side there, and it's got two pins. wire it goes over, and I only had it over one of the pins. I seemed to got carried away and moved it, missed one pin entirely. So let's turn the power back on, push the power button. I see lights, I see fans turning. So oh, yeah, dummy. I unplugged two of the hard drives, including the system drive, so that I could reach down there and plug in the power connector. So, of course, you'll know if this worked or not, because this is the one I make my videos on, and if I didn't get it right, there won't be any video. Well, all right. We're going to let's try to just start Windows normally, and we're going to say that this worked out, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to thank you for viewing if you watched this far, and please subscribe and leave some comments. I haven't recorded the little part for before, so I'll get to that and tell you what little problems I came into here. And anyway, thanks for watching. Like I say, click subscribe and leave a comment. You see the neat little LED right down there, right in there. It says A0. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but it does. That's a diagnostic LED on the motherboard, and the whole thing's nice and colorful. Look at that. Looks like things are on fire. Okay, I'm really going to go away now.